of the week. Here today, I'm joined by two fellow builders, Sneha and Abhilash, part of the Spacecraft Finance team. Today is a special day, I would say, because we're joined by two builders who are sort of at the beginning of their builder journey, and CreateOS has been a part of that journey from the beginning. So it'll be very interesting to see, to learn at the initial stages of how you guys came together, what Spacecraft is, and B, also what lies ahead for the team. So maybe why don't we start there, right? So if one of you could sort of summarize what is Spacecraft and how you guys came to work together on this.
Awesome. So I think I'll start with summarizing. So Spacecraft is a trading aggregator which has the capability of browsing markets, doing copy trading, finding correlations between markets, and finally, which every trader, newbie or HFT, needs alike, which is trading bots. So I use USP is CLI, which is command line interface. It enables lower latency and lesser browser switches. So we logged in on November 2025 when prediction markets was at its peak, and now we are over here having this conversation with CreateOS team.
Yes.
Amazing, and I think you summarized very well, but I think you make it sound easier than what it actually is, right? In terms, I think that's where a great product actually lies, right? Where you sort of abstract away all the complexity, and the user is just left with a pretty intuitive and beautiful experience. So, how did you get the idea of like, did you find it as a problem yourself, for example, Abhilash, that you used to use prediction markets and you're like, oh, okay, it would be great if I'll be able to automate this and this, and you sort of scale my operation there.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much spot on with that, Eric. So when we first started to experiment with prediction markets, like it was around last year, somewhere between mid of last year, where I was like seeing Polymarket to have like a notional volume of okayish numbers, but we didn't see what was happening right now. So we were like, okay, let's see. Now there's weather markets, there's crypto markets. We made a few trades, we lost, and we were like, okay, where are we actually failing? And then we realized, hey, why don't we actually have like a bot or a system to actually do it for us? Like it was like the first question to come up in our heads, given that agentic space was like really heating up, and we really thought like, why don't we just like bring the best of both worlds together? And that's when it first came to us. But then after that, it was purely a Dunning-Kruger effect for us. Like we really thought like that was an easy task. And after that, like months and months of research, lots of failing, and then we were able to actually bring what we could actually bring out to prediction markets that actually brought some alpha. So yeah, it was a very interesting journey.
It is. And would you be able to, because I know sort of the main uh, players, right, within prediction markets is a rather, I wouldn't say narrow, but new market, right? So would you be able to say who the main players are, and also how you guys are able to integrate with such platforms? Are the APIs in place so it's very seamless that you have to reach out to the Polymarket or the Kalshi team to integrate? How did that play out?
To be fairly honest, Polymarket and Kalshi, they had like a very, very well-versed API. So integrating them were like kind of easy, but the real challenge lied on like whether to use their club APIs or their REST APIs or WebSockets. We really had to make sure like we needed to give the best speed, lowest latency possible for the traders. When it comes to the other newer markets like Bento or Predict.fun or Probable, we had to, or Opinion, we had to talk to Opinion's team, email them and get the API keys, and we had to communicate with the folks. And we had to get everything set up. So the newer market platforms, so we had to like set it up, but the existing players, like they were like very lenient on giving their API keys. Apart from basic KYC, I think like we were like getting on right from the go. It was permissionless and it was very fast.
Wow, okay. uh, I didn't expect that to be so seamless from their end as well. How has it been? Like, how would you sort of summarize the prediction markets sector, right? Like, where do you think we're at? Because I think to me, for example, I was talking to Sneha just before we went live, right? I'm based in Italy, and it's a totally, what can I say, new market in the sense that it's I think it's illegal in most of the EU, just because they're yet to catch up to sort of uh, what the new wave is, right? So, do you see that changing in the near future? And it's what do you think?
Actually, to be fairly honest, after seeing what Kalshi did with CFTC's approval, we feel like, okay, prediction markets is not going to be in a gray area for a long time. It feels
Right,
like we are starting to see a new, say, asset class in and of
right,
itself, like per se. So we were like specializing more towards perps or say decentralized exchanges dealing with Solana, Ethereum pairs, or USDT and USDC pairs. But to be fairly honest, this is something totally new, and we really started to feel like the fresh wave of air. And this also gives us like a great opportunity as builders to trade and try doing something from the scratch, because like the previous type of asset classes were ruled by people who were like really, really good at it, like the quants, etc. So it gives the opportunity space for the builders to get as experienced as the quants themselves and build a product and toolkit that can actually be able to compete with such big heavyweights. So I believe that this is like an amazing step and opportunity in this time. Yeah.
okay. I mean, everything you're saying makes sense, right? So maybe before we get into the specifics of how sort of our paths cross, right? Both the spacecraft and CreateOS, would you be able to provide an example of like an instance? Say, like you want to look at an event which could be, I don't know, gold going above or below a certain price, right? How would that look like on the spacecraft platform as an end to end flow for a user?
Perfect. So I think I could share it right now and I can show it live. I think
Yes,
this
you can
time.
actually.
Let's go. Just let me know
Yes.
if it works.
Yep. Seeing your screen now.
Okay. Perfect. So this is Spacecraft's interface. You can access it just by going to spacecraft.finance. So you get a ton of features with prediction markets right now, and we source the data from different sources and we process it on a separate backend. For example, you can find a market that's like live right now. So this is a current Bitcoin up or down market. And so we could actually see the real-time activity of buy and sell prices, and you can place orders here. To be fairly honest, we offer more customization to an order than the Polymarket's UI itself. And we offer super fast latency. For example, it's 14 milliseconds of latency to communicate with Polymarket and Kalshi right now, which is like super fast. Because so since I was a gamer myself and I wanted to have the lowest latency on Counter-Strike, I was like very obsessed with making latency optimizations. So the entire backend is written in Rust, and we wanted to make sure it's actually faster than what Polymarket's official UI can itself do. And if you go for other features like, say, we process data from Polymarket to see which trader is copying who. And for example, if we look at this trader, we can see what are the trades that they're making. And they have a good portfolio and they've been doing some interesting trades. Um, there's also insider tracker and build trades. And most importantly, so we built a CLI. All you have to do is npm ig spacecraft CLI, which will install the spacecraft CLI in any terminal that you have. Works with OpenClaw, and you just need to type spacecraft or ask your Claude bot to actually open spacecraft, and you'll get the spacecraft CLI, which any agent can actually like work with. Currently, you can do any models. You can work with any models to deploy a bot, or you can actually view markets, and
Crazy.
and you can like go through different markets and you can like get more information about the market. So, and not just that, you can also pretty much like talk about the market to the AI, and it can give you more information about that and deploy bots, etc. So not just that, you can track arbitrage, cross-platform arbitrage. So you could like basically combine Polymarket, Kalshi, Opinion, and every other platform under the sun and see which of them have the same markets and see if they have the price differences where you can actually profit out of that and you can find arbitrage out of that. So we provide that. And we also have a strategy marketplace. And the beauty of Node OS is that like when we are creating a strategy and we are putting it in a trade bot, the bot is hosted beautifully in CreateOS, and that gives us the freedom for a user to create any bot in CloudBot and put it up online super
Mhm.
fast.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, arbitrage was going to be one of my questions as well. So you've answered that pretty beautifully. So you mentioned CreateOS, right? I think you meant we had Sid, Naman, and Sheena as part of the being mentors there at the BNB Hack, right? So how was that experience? How was your guys' weekend there? Did you have fun?
So it was a lovely experience. We met Lucas and Lad from BNB and also Sheena and Naman from NodeOS. And it was very helpful. NodeOps helped us with hosting the entire persistent trading bots. And Sheena and Naman were like really helpful in coordinating whenever we felt stuck. And the entire integration process with NodeOps were like super butter smooth. Would love to talk about that too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So did you approach? We'll do that as well after. But I wanted to ask: did you approach the hack with the problem statement that you wanted to tackle over the weekend, or did you just say, "Hey, like, let me just join this track or the general track as well, and see how we get on."
Okay, so I
To
think
be
I can.
fairly honest, yeah.
Yeah. So we have been actually researching on prediction markets for a long period of time, and BNB hacks was something we were very passionate about. Discovered this 1 month before the event itself, and as soon as we got in, we were thinking about which particular things to look at. Like, should we go for a web UI? Should we go for an app? And when we actually started
Yeah, I think there's some internet trouble with
Yeah.
Sneha.
Okay. So no
internet
worries.
is
I
a
think,
bit spotty. In
yeah, it's all right. Now it's back.
oh
You're
yeah.
online.
Now it's back. Maybe you can resume.
Yeah. All right. I think Abhilash can take it from you.
Yep. All right. No worries. So how the entire experience when okay, I'll just like reiterate what Sneha just
Right.
told. For prediction markets and the hackathon, right? Like we already had some research experience thinking like, okay, we might actually build something on prediction markets. But then we saw the hackathon with the problem statement exactly being the same. And that was like super interesting. And we were like, let's go for it. Like, let's lock in. Yep.
Okay, so it was almost like destiny, you could say, right? So,
Pretty
how,
much.
right? So, yeah, I mean, when things like that happen with coincidences, you don't really tend to question them, right? You just get on with it and get down to work. So, you mentioned the deployment experience earlier, right? How did you find deploying on CreateOS, and also how is the support and service we provide perfect for the kind of needs and demands that spacecraft requires?
Okay, so for the needs and support, like no, so we were like having a lot of interesting requirements. For example, we needed a place where we could host our bots with the lowest latency, because when it comes to like bots trading against each other, which is going to happen as the norm, we will start to see which of these bots are the fastest and which of these execute with the best strategy, right? So as we can see it with AI agents trying to do coding, we try to side with, say, the Opus 4.6 or the Codex 5.3s. We try to go for the best models possible and the models that can give us the highest throughput. But when it comes to trading, I think it's not just the strategies that they can come up with, but also the execution speed of these node servers that we are actually deploying. And since we are actually deploying it in Node, I think it just totally makes sense that we had to deploy it on CreateOS. And it was like super simple, super fast for us to get setting up. We just took around 5 minutes to get the entire thing set up. And within the hackathon venue, we were able to get all the strategies like hosted and also running over there. And so the entire process was butter smooth, and we had like a very good runway of time for that after that, so that we were able to like discuss what to actually say in the stage. So node ops really helped us with this.
That's amazing. And so I would say probably that's the best testimony we could have, right? In the sense that the deployment experience was so simple and intuitive that you were able to um, get done with it in almost like a few minutes and then just focus on building and sort of the following steps, right? With regards to the deployment experience, just the last question on the matter. Did anything surprise you in terms of the speed, setup, or workflow from the CreateOS perspective, or no?
We first thought that it's going to be a bit of a hassle to get things set up, but the
Okay.
simplicity and the beauty of how we could actually do it was itself surprising, and that was like a great motivator for us.
There you go.
And not just
Yeah,
that,
go on.
like we actually thought of actually putting this as a web application first. And we wanted to actually create this into, say, we wanted to bring a Linux interface, a E2B, into the web application. Then we realized
Right.
it's not fast enough. Then we wanted to make it into an Electron app. And then that wasn't fast enough as a local desktop app too. Then we wanted to convert into Tori, Rust-based desktop app, and we couldn't quite get there yet. So then finally we realized at the hackathon menu, okay, let's make this into a perfect CLI. And the CLI can work with OpenClaw or Claude Code or any other agentic system. This is the perfect system to build in. And you self-host it, and it's as fast as your chipsets, and it's gonna be like much better. And we hit the golden spot over there. And hosting the bots in NodeOps were the best option that we could go with.
Thank you, sir. That's super kind. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the CLI route and path makes the most sense for what you're trying to do, right? And would you be able to, what can I say, summarize what the stack looks like, right? For the AI terminal behind at Spacecraft, sir.
Yeah, so the stack behind this would be so the basic club interface that we wanted to do it was done with Rust. And on top of that, we were trying to host this on the different platforms that we were trying to say. But we made it into a web application where the users can look what's happening visually much better. But everything under the hood happens in the CLI, and it handles most of the operations like, say, trading, strategy execution, etc. We hold the strategy in Binance Greenfield, and we execute these strategies in NodeOps. And so we get like a very good triad of, say, connectivity and also the latency in trades.
Okay, super simple. So, would you say that sort of you've prioritized having a modular and very simple stack from your end, so that you're able to just focus on optimizing the UI and the UX for the end user?
Yeah, pretty much something similar along the lines. We wanted to start with something super basic, and we wanted to build it modularly. So, for example, we are planning to create an extensions marketplace where you could actually have, say, all these different features like correlation or arbitrage finding as extensions on top of your agent. So you could actually give them what they actually need instead of trying to feed the LLM all the context, so they know exactly what to do. For example, if we were to trade in weather markets, they look more into correlation and also weather API data. Correlation is more important than the temperature itself, because it's just like it's a difference of 18 degrees and 17 degrees, and it's like a whole probability difference of 79 percentage versus 29 percentage. So
Okay.
I've been consistently noticing in my trades when I've been doing weather markets, the correlation is more important than the temperature itself. So it's something that I found in my experience, and I was able to make some positive profits out of that. So when it comes to crypto markets, however, it's not correlation that really helps. It's not even the Oracle prices that really helps. It's the order book volume that really helps a lot. So these are all alphas that we were able to find a lot more than anywhere else. And building this application also gave us an insight behind how prediction market works on a much larger scale. I think all of these are like super helpful in the long run. So yeah.
Okay, so this is interesting, right? Because that's also what I wanted to ask you next, in the sense that if you introduce, I think they already are, right, bots within prediction markets, and there will be more and more, almost up until a point where there will only be bots, of course, on behalf of humans, right? Won't we get isn't there the risk that we'll get to a point where all the alpha will be squeezed out? Because essentially, like, what will be the differentiator between my bot winning against your bot, for example? Like, how do you determine that?
Yeah. In a typical trading situation, like say if we were to deal with perps or futures, I think the outcome will start to become like the markets will start to become like super efficient. Then it becomes like the lowest latency. It becomes like a Jane Street or like Citadel kind of game, right? Like you gotta
Right.
be close to the servers, etc. But something that I found very interesting about prediction markets is that it involves external activities, like say geopolitics, right? So
Right.
we don't know
Exactly.
what's going to happen, and things so we might actually be depending on one news source, or another agent might be depending on a faster news source with more alpha. Agents themselves start acting up like humans, and they start getting alpha from better sources. We might not know if there's going to be a time where every AI agent is going to come with like the maximum efficiency. So we might reach a point where the markets will become efficient, but we predict that there's always going to be some alpha in prediction markets that is going to be like something we could like squeeze out of. But yeah, in this current situation of timeline, I believe that this is very exciting, and even we are not sure where it's going to go. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, because the creation of market, like, essentially markets exist because humans exist, right? I would say, for non, well, just for everything really. So I don't see them going anywhere, in the sense that, I think you could almost think of it as as there being a divide where the markets will be the product of human activity and just human beings being human beings. So it could be, as you mentioned, geopolitical events, or it could be anyone gambling on LeBron James having, I don't know, 16 free throws or whatever, right? And
yeah.
then the bots doing the trading for us. Is that how you almost see it, right?
Yeah. And also I noticed that like in prediction markets, there's a certain thing like if you were to actually go all in and if you wanted to actually make that big win at a specific trade, if you aren't like very careful and if you're not like noticing if the percentage and the probability drops, if you say go have a coffee, come back, you had
Right.
97 percentage probability, entire market flips, things are gone. Like the entire principal amount gets gone. Like you definitely need a bot or definitely you need a computer to aid you in this process. So I think even at the lower level, even without the LLMs, we need some sort of guardrails for retail investors and people who want to learn things. And for the people who are actually doing retail HFT, or they need speed and latency, right? So for both these worlds, I think spacecraft, we are trying to cater to them and we are trying to do the best possibly we can.
Sounds amazing and it's exciting. So, from a, because I'm not a prediction market user yet, I would say, just because of where I live and what it is. Of course, I'm familiar with the success that you could almost say that Polymarket is the second most effective and sort of successful use case of crypto at scale ever, after stablecoins. With the partnership they've been able to have with the New York Stock Exchange, and then just a different scale out there, right? And it's just amazing that the data is all managed on blockchain. The distribution. What I wanted to say is that, how would it look like from your end? Say I wanted to say I like basketball, right? Say I like the Lakers, and say I like LeBron James. And I think that tomorrow, of course, this is just purely hypothetical scenario,
Yeah.
against Portland. I think LeBron James is gonna, I don't know, have 43 points and 16 3 pointers. No, sorry, like 10 3, of which 10 3 pointers. Am I able to, what can I say, program that into a logic to the bot and create markets accordingly, or and also inform the bot to spot any kind of market that is created that mentions or is somewhat related to my logic? Is that how, like, is that correct or no?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can go both the ways, and that's the beauty of how we designed the spacecraft CLI, right? So in the CLI, all you have to do is like, if you want to go with the strategy, say you want to wait until the Lakers get a lead, and then then trade, and then set up a risk profile, you can do it the traditional way. Or if you want the AI itself to go scan at ESPN or any sports channels to get the exact data that you need from a live stream, we can set up a Claude bot to do that. And the Claude bot will be looking at the live stream and can feed back the information. Or you can do another way where you can actually go through the sports API and you can like get the lowest latency and try to trade from there. The limits are endless because the more real world data, and interestingly enough, we can combine all three, and actually we can like have a much more intuitive trading experience, which could be much more powerful. But when we tend to do this, we have to make sure the AI agents are going to take some time throughput to
Right.
basically to and fro the information. So we got to calculate that, and we are actually trying to see. We are trying to integrate two other things, like say Andre Karpathy has like say auto research released 1 week
Right.
ago, and say Mirrorfish is like really trending right now, which like spawns like a million agents and tries to see the best possible outcome. All of these agentic simulation is very, very interesting in our eyes. And we are actually, since they are open source, we are already researching on them and trying to see where we can fit prediction markets inside them. So we could perform simulations locally and also say data sourcing from like the internet, right? So when it comes to say data simulations, I think that is something we are super excited more than backtesting, because backtesting has been around for a very long time, and agentic simulations are something that's like popping up recently, and I think it will be like a game changer this year.
It's crazy. It's actually so fun. The
Yeah.
only thing that and I think I everything you described actually makes sense, and I think it's pretty intuitive. And what the real potential actually is with retail is that it's pretty easy to understand, and so it comes down to experience, right? It comes down to what your appetite is and what you're into and what your profile is. My question for you is that how do you what can I say, manage or abstract away the um, sort of token side of thing, right? Because, for example, in your example, you mentioned ESPN here. I think you mentioned another couple of platforms there. Like, is it all sort of managed at the cloud bot level? So I provide, say, $10, which I know is enough to make the trades for today, and the bot has enough fuel, let's say, to go crazy, or what? Because the last thing I would want, of course, is to, what can I say, not be able to execute on my trade because I don't have enough tokens, right? So how are you able to prevent that?
I think Sneha and I were like actually researching on this a lot. We had to go through the roots of deep LLM research, agentic research. So Sneha suggested like, why don't we try compaction, and why don't we try say vectorization? And I was like, okay, vectorization and compaction sounds like a great idea. And when we tried doing compaction layers after layers, we realized that even the compacted layers sometimes overflows, and we couldn't like we exceed the token limits, and it becomes pretty expensive to run simulations. So we split into two ways. One is the business logic. If the person or the trader wishes to actually like trade with a lot of simulations, I think they can spend a lump sum of credits from their own API keys. We let them do
Right.
that. And so yeah, and apart from that, we try to give them as much as vectorization, RL, and compaction in the agentic system. And we don't pretty much depend completely on OpenClaw per se. OpenClaw, the user base is increasing a lot, so we really want to cater to the audience. But OpenClaw talks to the Spacecraft CLI in the end of the day, so we were able to provide a seamless experience from both the ends actually. Yeah.
Okay, that totally makes sense. And congrats, Sneha, as well for your hunch and suggesting this. Um, from, what can I say, a competitive standpoint, right? I wanted to ask, like, of course, you're biased, but from your perspective, what makes, in your opinion, Spacecraft different from other existing, trading tools and dashboards? Because I'm sure there are other examples out there, right?
Yeah. I think the edge that we have from other trading tools or dashboards is, like, to be fairly honest, everybody's trying to make an agentic trading experience right now. The one thing that we are really bullish on is the research that we have done has given us a new keys and ways in which, like, we were able to like create say simulation environment, or even say finding correlation. It's finding a correlation graph, for example, is like a 5-step process compared to just like saying getting the data from Polymarket Gold Sky, right? So there's like 5-step process that we are actually processing through, and we were able to give the best information out there. So if you were to say Polyarb, no, like we love our competitors. If if we were to take Polyarb versus like Spacecraft, the arbitrage data that they give versus us, we always try to make it higher quality, and the data that you get and the trades that you make will give you, say, a faster return. So we just try to optimize on the data such that you get the best quality data as much as possible. So when it
Okay.
comes to, say, a trader making like a crucial decision, I think it'll definitely make sense to use Spacecraft.
I mean, I agree. It all boils down to information and data, right? And having access. Yeah, you
Yeah.
were gonna say something?
Well,
Actually, so yeah, so Sneha so we actually prepared for this part. Like Sneha was also mentioning, like say the actual mode that we have the AI agents. But in my case, I feel like AI agents are just the evolving part because there will be more tools doing the AI agents thing. I think the quality of information and how we process it and give it to the AI agents is going to matter more than the agents themselves. And of course, the quality of the models that we are using, say Grok 4.2 is doing much better than say GLM5 when it comes to trading, right? The Chinese models sometimes outweigh the Western models when it comes to traditional finance or the crypto, on the other hand. So we have to find the best course of action for the models too. I think it's going to be a multitude of factors, and I feel like Spacecraft is like pretty equipped to handle a lot of them.
It's exciting. And in terms of what can I say, more practical aspects, such as, for example, the core metrics, right? How are things currently looking for Spacecraft? How many users do you have, and do you have any integrations in place, or are you looking to have integrations in place with um, additional partners that might further elevate um, your reach, or how are things looking?
okay, so we were actually researching with a lot of traders inside and outside of India. We talked to 15 of them before, actually plunging into building, and that's what validated the idea. And
Okay,
then till today, we have 5,000 signups, and we have a community of 15,000 members. And we have recently launched a Discord
congrats.
server, so check us out in the links. We'll drop them down. And yeah, we are just looking forward to scale with different integrations. We already have ones in place with Polymarket, Opinion, Kalshi. We are in talks with Bento and other platforms so that we can make it more holistic. So we are just looking for distribution and scale.
Yeah, everyone is. That's the
Yeah.
key. Distribution is, yeah, it's interesting. I think I have literally conversations daily around. I'm sure you guys have the same sort of good problem to have, that you have a working product, and it's just about understanding how you can get the word out as much as possible, right? Um, how are you looking at monetization from your end? Are you simply just taking fees per trade, or like how is that looking within, like what's the model within Spacecraft?
Yeah, I think traders really hate fees. Like as a trader myself, I really hate
They
fees.
do.
Like we really needed to actually focus on a different monetization strategy. For example, other aggregation platforms, they definitely focus on fees. I think that could be an interesting mode, right? So we are focused more on the strategy and say hosting the servers, and for example, say like how the server is persistent and how much time they're going to trade for you. And we wanted to charge based on compute strategy and the model tokenization more than the trading costs itself. So we go on a more like say an OpenAI or Anthropic style route more than say a typical trading interface route.
Interesting. So how does that look like from a user perspective? Is it a subscription base that has different tiers based
Yep.
on the ambition? So as you mentioned, compute strategy, different parameters.
Yeah, for example, if you want to have an agent that can actually do a stable trade for you, not too risky, if it just needs to like just bounce around and like make some good trades here and there and keep the risk low, I think that basically hosting that and the models and the token costs for them would be significantly lower. But if you want a bot that can like really look through everything, do agentic simulations 5 to 6 times, and backtest everything and go through multiple websites, look at live streams and keep everything in one place. And also, we need a model that needs to have the context capacity to be able to do that. So the infrastructure, the context, and the hosting, everything, and like to actually so pay for the providers that we use, right? So I think all of these will come under the monetization. So it'll be like tier based on how we are
I
actually
understand.
using the agents.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would like to add on to that. So we are thinking of trader marketplace. So if a trader has a history of profitable trades, he can actually monetize it to the other fellow traders, which can help in having the correlations. So yeah, that's something we are phasing out in the second part.
Yep.
Interesting.
I
So
totally
like copy
forgot to
trading,
mention that.
like copy
Yes,
trading, right?
copy
Yeah.
trading, and also they could like pretty much fork the strategy themselves and start trading. The problem with copy trading is that like when you start trading, by the time you copy the trader, the liquidity is gone. So we try to say if a trader has a successful strategy, we could fork it and run it locally in our own system. So rather than copying them, probably the trades will be executed at the same time. So
Okay.
we try to incentivize traders to like play around with that kind of situation too.
I like your, what can I say, foresight that you were able, that you, when you decided to talk to traders who would be your prime users at the beginning, right, before predictions market become, let's just say, viral, right? Because then you'd have sort of the multiplier effect in place so that everybody knows about prediction markets. But right now, you need those power users in place, right? Are you going to do the same for validation when it comes to your monetization hypothesis? So have you already done so? Like, have you told them, hey, like we're looking to introduce, as you mentioned, like um, it, a tier system based on compute, and if so, what kind of feedback have you received from them?
We've been receiving very positive feedback on especially the agentic front and also the simulation front. So right now, the what's available right now is the ability to create and spin up a normal bot or come up with a strategy or look at all the information that we basically curate. What we have under the hood is much more than that, like the simulation part and also consistent execution, like cloud style, like 24/7 bots. For these, we are actually currently talking with traders who are high signal, and we are actually getting some positive responses. Of course, nobody's perfect. We were getting a lot of, say, feedbacks, and we were very
Of course.
quick to actually like integrate on it, and like, we were like very quick to like solve that. And we also saw the flow of the trader performing their trades in there multiply, and we were finding it to be a very interesting journey.
That is interesting. What's the general ethos, I would say, within, because I mean, you're dealing with money here, right? So I would say
Yeah.
there is almost like a built-in level of skepticism for a trader to be too outspoken about, his views, thoughts, and it is true that he's all on chain, so you're able to see what is happening. But I'm sure that it also comes down to the style and appetite and profile, right? So, what's the general ethos, right? Are there some traders who are more open and some are more closed, or generally speaking, they're all pretty open and welcoming? What can you say?
I think it's a mixed bag actually. So we were having some
Okay,
traders who were like very, very like how do you say private in how they approach their
secretive, yeah,
strategies, and like because like it does make them money, and like if it does make them money, and they're like they have all the rights to be secretive about that. So we had some traders who were more open minded, and they really wanted to spread out the word, and we felt like both of them had their own significant points to share, and we got like equal amount of value from both the traders like both the extremes, right? So the whole process of talking to successful traders also opened us new doors to how to handle emotions when it comes to trading, and
of
where does
course.
humans actually do fail. And we were actually learning a ton of knowledge in the last 6 7 months, basically researching the entire thing.
I like your approach. I think being pragmatic and sort of, what can I say, like a sponge, right? Like you don't have an opinion, you just see what they say and you take it in and you make decisions accordingly is the right approach, especially at the early stages, because it all comes down to user feedback and validation, right? Because at the end of the day, those are users are your moat. Like that's what it will always boil down to.
Yeah.
Um, I really I found it interesting what you mentioned just now because it came to my mind what Kelch is doing, right? Which is interesting. So like their marketing team is insane. I think they're I don't know if this is an ambassador program in place. I just know that I've stumbled upon Insta and YouTube upon videos where it could be like anyone, like a normal guy who might invite, say, I'm just giving you an example here, right? Inviting like an impersonator at his house. It could be like a Michael Jackson or like a Chris Brown or like a Drake impersonator. Make him do the performance, and then at the end, just make him bet on whatever, and say, and just hands him over the phone and say, "Hey, use Kalshi to do that." So, like, it's a crazy way to actually place your product within a context and feeling and emotions that you mentioned, because it boils down to that. That is completely different, right? Which is, I'm in my home, I invite someone to perform Michael Jackson and making all the noises and whatever, and then all of a sudden I'm asked, like, what do you think about this? Can you roll the dice or whatever? Like, what do you think about? Like, do you think that's just a product of the times we live in, and everything is fair game, or what? Because I just think it's genius, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Me
I
and
think
Avinash is actually, experimenting with those kinds of videos. Like, shall we make one? And, I sent him out some of the samples. It's like, oh, this is good to go. So we are also thinking of launching some similar socials. And yeah, I mean, having big celebrity names and, making content around them is something which we can do with AI models anytime, any soon. So yeah, that's something every industry is picking up on, irrespective of it.
yeah, it's definitely the times we are living in. And even Polymarket had their situation watch room in Washington, and they had like full of screens, like full of like situation watchers. And we even like see a lot of situation watcher dashboards every other day in Twitter. It's vibe coded, sure. I mean, like we have a great fun like looking at all these things. Like this is amazing stuff.
You mean the virtual offices, right, where the agents are moving around? Is that what you mean, for the watchroom?
Yeah, they have like a kind of like a, I believe it might be like a resto bar experience. They have
Mm,
like a lot of screens, so it's a virtual, say, watch rooms where they can look at the charts moving real time. It was like a very cool experience. I think it's set up in New York. Would love to visit and check it out too.
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, there's also a Polymarket shop which has like vegetables. It's more like a grocery shop. Yeah, I think I've seen that on social media. So I'm not sure if it's a real one, but that experience would be really great to shop, fruits and real stuffs in
Yeah, I
prediction market.
think both Polymarket and Kalshi did the same thing. They both had like
Yeah,
grocery shops. You could like go inside, take whatever you want. Like it's all free. It's like Mr. Beast style marketing. Like yeah, I think marketing is on the like on a generational run right now. Like people are like doing crazy things.
It's
yeah, and
nuts, man.
Yeah,
yeah, and in real life, things are actually where we aggregate people. So yeah,
Yeah, I think from your perspective, you can truly go nuts here, right? Because it's something that everyone has an opinion, right? So you just need to choose the right thing that you think that they would actually like to say, right? Like, you're not gonna go ask your grandma, for example, about what's happening geopolitically, if she's completely detached, as it should be, from all the current chaos that is currently happening, right? But you might ask her, I don't know, about if she likes a certain sports, about what her team is going to do and something like that. So I would say, um, yeah, for a product like yours, I think the sky's the limit in terms of how you can place it, right? You can place it in any context, really. So I like the fact that you're looking in that direction, because it'll propel your growth, in my opinion, to be honest. And if you're already able to provide a service that is performant, secure, and just works, then it's just about going crazy and experimenting with A/B, what works, what doesn't. And as Abhilash mentioned, we like, these are crazy times. You don't know what's going to work and what won't, and something that might work will might also just work for 2 days or 3 days, and then people are on to the next thing. So it's
yeah,
interesting. Things are moving at a crazy pace, I would say. Claude and just the Anthropic team are just setting the bar, and they're releasing new crazy products on a weekly basis. So what do you think? Maybe this is outlandish to say, like, what do you think the prediction markets uh sort of horizon is going to look like within the next 6 months? I was initially going to ask you 12 to 24, but I think that's too further down the line. It's
yeah.
almost impossible to say.
yeah. So I see it not as a mere trading platform, but a holistic and a legal way of
Hmm.
combining social and geopolitical signals. And it's a whole new segment we are walking in. I think CFTC regulated makes it even more future ready. We
Yeah.
can make our own prediction markets now. Oil, as you know, because of the war situation, it's really picking up and it's more volatile. Weather markets are easier to trade because of the correlations. They're really taking off, and I feel even insider trading is really possible in terms of politics. I think it's a very creative way of expressing our own thoughts and getting community around them to support or deny it. That's how I perceive it in a very simple terms. Anyone can make their own prediction markets, and I feel like we can integrate more creative thoughts like a kind of a game or some Mario interface to make it more user friendly. And yeah, that's my take on this.
Yeah, that's like something that we are working on our books. Like we wanted to do like more gamified experience on top of prediction markets. It's just like say charts right now. We wanted to see if we could actually bring a different layer of UI, a gamified UI on top of existing markets, right? So that's something on the research, and that's going to be very interesting.
That is very interesting. But just one idea for you, right? Just I'm just thinking on the spot here. Uh, how about organizing an event from your end, right? Which could be anything. You mentioned it, say like a hack or a weekend game of whatever you mentioned, something that you might be into, right? And gamifying it in a way where you introduce prediction markets, right? So, for example, if it's a hackathon, what's the market for spacecraft? I'm just making stuff up, right? Being a finalist, or Abhilash having 10 Red Bulls on on the day before the deadline, or whatever. Like, do you think that uh, such an event or such use cases and pilots could really bring people on to sort of see how fun this could actually be beyond just the risks?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Absolutely,
think
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
really good information, and people like to interact with each other. That's the goal at an event. So I
Exactly.
think if we have an app or a small place where they can interact and talk about other people and have communities around it, that's gonna be really interesting. We're actually thinking of organizing a hackathon in the coming months around it, and whoever wins the prediction markets takes the money home.
There you go.
yeah. I mean, the house always wins, but we want to make sure that it's a very community-friendly experience. And
Of
to be
course.
fairly honest, a poker prediction nights, trading competitions, hackathons, we have so much ideas that we can bring in. Sneha and I are like constantly researching and bringing these to life. Like, we're super excited to what's coming up next.
That's amazing, guys. I don't want to keep you. I'm sure that you're building at length and you have a lot of work to do. This is super interesting. Honestly, we have a group, and I'll we'll keep brainstorming because I think the you could do so many things, right? So excited for you. I think no better time to build. To be honest, you just need to be
Yeah, you
very
can just do
hungry.
things.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
as we're wrapping things up, is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with? What do you want to say?
Be curious, have fun, and try trading new things. Like, I think it's an amazing time to live.
Yeah, I
Sneha?
Yeah.
think yeah, I think agents are definitely the future, but research and doing something creative is creativity comes from human brain, and if you brainstorm with ChatGPT or any other models, they don't perform as good. So I think that is our human edge where we can build startups using the technology, which is ever evolving.
And do check out Spacecraft without finance. Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Guys, look forward to doing this again in, I don't know, a few months down the line to hear about your growth, progress, and further developments. But until then, keep doing what you're doing because it clearly works. And great work.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric, for your time. It's been
Thank
lovely
you.
chatting with you.
Of course.